The storm was over, but the tension had only begun. The car stopped at the gates of Willow Manor. Tommy stepped out first. Tuppence followed, holding her small bag. The house stood ahead, silent. Lord Charles Willow waited in the doorway. He gave them a firm handshake. His smile was weak, his eyes restless. Tommy noticed the twitch in his fingers. Tuppence noticed the pause before he spoke. "Welcome. You must be tired." His voice was low. He looked over his shoulder before speaking again. "Come inside. Supper will be ready." Lady Margaret appeared at the top of the stairs, her dress neat, her face pale. She nodded, but her eyes slid away. No warmth, only distance. "Lady Margaret," Tommy said. She gave a faint smile. "Rooms are prepared. You will be comfortable." Her tone was polite, but her words held weight. Tuppence felt the cold gap behind them. Miss Beatrice Willow stood in the corner. She was younger than Margaret, quieter, her eyes sharp. She said little, but she observed much. Tuppence felt those eyes move with care. Sir Henry walked in with loud steps. "Ah, our guests at last." His voice cheerful, but his laugh hollow. He clapped Tommy's shoulder. "Nothing to worry about here, my friends. Only good company and good drink." But his eyes shifted too quickly. He was playing a role. Tuppence knew it at once. Mrs. Petton entered with a tray, her hands steady, but her eyes nervous. She set the glasses down. She left without a word. Fricks the butler followed, tall, quiet, his bow short, no expression. His gaze swept over them, but he said nothing. The group sat together. The fire burned low. Conversation thin. Lord Willow asked about the journey. Tommy answered with courtesy. Margaret asked about London. Tuppence gave brief replies. The talk never touched comfort. Henry filled the silence with his jokes. Too many, too quick. No one laughed with ease. Beatrice watched, her hands folded, her mouth closed. When the clock struck 9, Margaret rose. "Time to rest," her voice calm, but her steps quick. Beatrice followed soon after. Henry poured one last drink. "Sleep well. Tomorrow will be brighter," but his smile slipped as he turned away. Lord Willow showed Tommy and Tuppence their room. His hand lingered on the door handle. "Lock it," he said softly. He did not wait for reply. He walked off, shoulders bent. Tommy sat on the bed. Tuppence opened her bag. Neither spoke for a while. The silence pressed. A sound came from the corridor. Soft a step. Then paper slid under the door. Tuppence picked it up. The envelope was plain. She opened it quickly. Inside one line. "Do not trust the house." Her hand trembled. Tommy read it twice. They exchanged a look. Trust had no place here. The paper slipped from Tuppence's hand, but the words stayed heavy in her mind. She had expected mystery. She had not expected warning. And warnings, she knew, never came without reason. The table was set, but no one tasted comfort. Mrs. Petton entered first. She carried the soup with both hands. Her face stayed blank. Her steps careful. She placed each bowl without speaking. Fricks followed. He stood near the door, silent, his hands behind his back. His eyes moved from one face to another. He missed nothing. Lord Willow cleared his throat. "Let us begin." His voice was weak. Margaret passed the bread without looking at him. Her hand trembled slightly. Her eyes stayed on her plate. Sir Henry spoke quickly. He laughed at his own remarks. He told stories of London, his voice too loud for the quiet room. He wanted attention. But no one answered with real warmth. Tommy gave short replies. Tuppence watched instead of speaking. Beatrice sat near Margaret. She noticed something in Margaret's hand, a folded paper. Margaret kept it hidden beneath her napkin, her lips pressed tight, her shoulders stiff. Henry raised his glass. To good health and good company. He smiled wide, but his eyes darted toward Willow. Willow did not raise his own glass. He stared at the table instead. Mrs. Petton returned with the next dish. Her movements quick now. She avoided looking at anyone. She left again without a word. Fricks shifted closer. He leaned against the wall, still silent, still watching, his expression unreadable. Margaret set down her fork. She pushed food around her plate. She never met Willow's gaze. Beatrice leaned closer. "Are you well?" she whispered. Margaret nodded but did not speak. Henry began another story. He laughed again. It rang false. Tommy studied him carefully. Tuppence studied Margaret instead. The folded paper remained in her hand. Lord Willow tried to speak. His words stumbled. He stopped halfway. Henry filled the silence again. The tension thickened. Every exchange grew shorter. Every smile looked forced. Fricks moved to refill glasses. His hand brushed Margaret's arm. She pulled back, quickly. The folded paper slipped lower under her napkin. Beatrice noticed again. Her eyes narrowed. The soup cooled. The meat went untouched. The bread hardened in baskets. But Henry kept talking. No one else did. Tommy leaned toward Tuppence. "Strange company," he muttered. She nodded slowly, her eyes on Margaret, her thoughts elsewhere. The meal ended without joy. Margaret rose first. She placed the folded paper in her sleeve. She left the room without waiting. Willow followed, slow and silent. Henry stretched. "Good dinner," he said, his grin thin. He excused himself with a laugh. Beatrice lingered. She whispered to Tuppence, "Something is wrong. I can feel it." Then she left as well. Tommy and Tuppence remained, the table empty now. Only Fricks stood there, still watching. Tuppence turned to the window. Her breath caught. A figure stood outside, tall, still, watching them. Then gone in a blink. Tuppence gripped Tommy's arm. "Someone was there," she whispered. Her heart sank. It was not the food that spoiled the night. It was the silence. And silence, she knew, could hide more than words. The handwriting was sharp, the words sharper. Lord Willow held the letter with both hands. His fingers shook. He passed it to Tommy without a word. Tommy read slowly. Tuppence leaned over his shoulder. The message was brief, direct. It spoke of the Albion Company. It accused Willow of fraud. It demanded silence. It threatened exposure. Lord Willow sat heavily in the chair, his face pale, his lips pressed tight. "They know everything," he whispered, "everything about the company." Tuppence studied him. "Who else has seen this?" "No one," Willow answered quickly. "Not even Margaret. Not Beatrice. No one." But his eyes darted toward the door. Doubt betrayed him. Tommy folded the paper. "Why keep this hidden? Why call us here if not to tell the truth?" Willow looked down. "They want money. They want silence. If I resist, I will lose everything." Tuppence spoke firmly. "And if you obey, you still lose." Her words hung in the air. No one argued. Beatrice entered quietly, her face serious. She glanced at the letter in Tommy's hand. Her eyes widened. "So it is true," she whispered. "They are trying to ruin him." Willow turned sharply. "What do you mean, they?" Beatrice hesitated. "I heard voices in the library last night. 2 men, talking low. One said your name. One said Albion. Silence filled the room." Tuppence leaned forward. "Who were they?" Beatrice shook her head. "I do not know. I only heard." Then footsteps, then silence again. Tommy frowned. "Strangers? Or someone in this house?" Beatrice lowered her eyes. "I cannot say." Willow rose suddenly. He paced the room. "They know my secrets. They know too much. The company, the letters, the investors. All of it could destroy me." Margaret's voice came faintly from the hall. She was speaking with Rix, her tone low, her words unclear. Tuppence touched the letter again, the ink dark, the threat real. She looked at Willow. "Did you ever tell Sir Henry about Albion?" Willow's face tightened. "I may have." In confidence. Years ago, Tommy's gaze sharpened. "And Margaret?" "She knows only part." Enough to fear scandal. Nothing more. Beatrice stepped closer. "Then why was she holding a paper at dinner?" Willow froze. "What paper?" "The one in her hand." "I saw it." The tension rose. No one spoke for a long moment. Then a noise cut through the silence. A loud crash from above. A woman's scream followed, high, sharp. "Margaret!" Willow shouted. They rushed toward the stairs as her cry echoed through the halls. Tuppence's heart pounded. Threats on paper were one thing, but screams in the night meant danger was already here. The study door hung open, but the desk was broken. Tommy stepped inside first. His eyes moved over the mess. Drawers pulled open, papers scattered across the floor, the rug twisted, the chair knocked sideways. Tuppence followed. She bent to pick up a torn envelope. It was empty, its seal broken. She looked at Tommy. Whoever came, they searched everything. Lord Willow appeared in the doorway, his face white, his steps slow. He leaned against the frame. "They know too much," he muttered. His voice shook. "They should not know this much." Tommy lifted a pile of documents from the ground. Receipts, old letters, nothing important. But one thing was clear. A portfolio was missing. The gap on the desk proved it. Tuppence asked quickly, "What was in it?" Lord Willow swallowed hard. "Private papers. Records of Albion, names, numbers, everything." His hand pressed his forehead. "I should have locked them away. I should never have left them here." Tommy's jaw tightened. "Now they hold the proof. Whoever has this can destroy you." Lord Willow shook his head. "They already tried." The letter was only the first blow Sir Henry entered behind him. He looked over the mess. Well, seems you had visitors." His tone carried ease, but his eyes moved too quickly. He nudged the scattered papers with his boot. "Burglars." They slipped in with the storm. "Common thieves." Tommy turned. "Too neat for common thieves." "They wanted one thing, and they found it." Henry raised an eyebrow. "You doubt me already?" Tommy said nothing. His silence was sharp enough. Tuppence crouched near the desk. Her hands moved over the surface. Marks of dust showed clear outlines. A folder had been taken, nothing else. Lord Willow dropped into a chair. His hands trembled. "I am ruined." "They will expose me." "The company is finished." Beatrice stepped inside quietly. Her eyes widened at the sight. Who would dare this in our own house? She looked at Henry, then at Margaret, who had followed close behind. No one answered. Tommy said slowly, "This was staged. No forced lock, no broken window. This was done by someone inside." Margaret stiffened. "Are you accusing us already?" Her voice cracked. Willow raised his hands weakly. "No fighting." "Not now." The room fell silent. Only the faint sound of wind pressed against the walls, every face tense, every hand still. Tuppence moved toward the fireplace. Ash lay thick at the grate. She knelt and touched it, still warm. She pulled out a half-burned fragment. Tommy leaned close. The letters were faint, but clear. "Albion Investment Company." Tuppence held the charred paper high. Someone tried to burn the truth. Her chest tightened. The blackmail was real, the danger closer, and the house itself no longer safe. Some letters bring grief, others bring danger. Tuppence stood inside Margaret's room. The desk drawer was half open. Her hand moved slowly through the papers, receipts, Letters, unpaid notes, nothing unusual. Then she saw it. A card, folded, black border, simple words on the front. She picked it up carefully. It was a condolence card. Her brows tightened. This was no place for sympathy, not tonight. She opened it. Inside were few words, the ink bold, the lines sharp. Old debts are never forgiven. Some will always collect. Her hand froze. She read again. Each word struck heavy. This was not condolence. This was threat. Tommy entered quietly. "What have you found?" Tuppence showed him the card. He frowned. "That is no mourning note." "That is warning." Lord Willow stepped into the doorway. His face fell at the sight. "Where did you get that?" "Your wife's desk," Tuppence answered. Willow's lips trembled. "She told me nothing?" His voice weak. He reached for the card. Tuppence pulled it back. "Not yet. We must keep this safe." Beatrice appeared behind them, her voice low. "Not all family feuds die." Her eyes moved toward Willow. She said nothing more. Margaret entered moments later. She stopped when she saw them gathered. "What are you doing here?" Her tone sharp. Her hand clenched. Tuppence held the card loosely. Margaret's eyes flicked toward it. Color drained from her cheeks. She forced a smile. "Old letters." "Nothing more." Her words rang false. Henry stepped in behind her. He laughed. "You all dig too deep. Secrets do not feed you. Dinner does." But his eyes lingered on the card too long. Rix walked by the corridor. He paused. He looked once inside, then kept walking without a word. The air grew heavier. No one spoke. The card remained in Tuppence's hand. She slid it into her bag. She fastened the clasp tight. "This will not be lost," she whispered. Willow sank into a chair, his face gray. "Whoever sent it knows the past." "And the past can kill." Margaret turned away. She left without another word. Henry followed, muttering under his breath. Beatrice lingered. Her hand touched Tuppence's arm. "Be careful." "The card is poison, more than ink." Tommy nodded grimly. "We must guard it. Tomorrow we confront them." The night passed slow. Tuppence checked her bag twice, the card still inside. She closed her eyes but did not rest. Morning came. Her hand reached again for the bag. She opened it, empty. The card was gone. Tuppence's breath caught. It was here. Now it's gone. She felt a weight inside, not just fear, but betrayal. Someone had reached closer than she thought, and closer meant danger was already in the room. Trust split the table more than knives. Breakfast was laid out, plates filled, tea steaming, but no one looked at ease. Mrs. Peaton poured carefully, her hands steady, her eyes down. Frick stood in the corner, silent, watching as always. Tuppence lifted her cup. She took a small sip. The taste hit sharp, metallic, bitter. Her throat tightened. She set the cup down slowly. Her eyes flicked to Tommy. He noticed her unease. Lord Willow cleared his throat, his voice strained. Only family knew about Albion, no one else, no outsider. It is within these walls his hand trembled as he reached for bread. Margaret pressed her lips. She said nothing. Her fork clinked against her plate. Her eyes stayed on her food, but her hand shook. Henry laughed suddenly, his voice loud. "You suspect us? Nonsense, who would betray family?" He leaned back in his chair. He smiled wide. But the smile was thin. Tommy's voice cut low. "Someone wanted those papers. They burned what they could not take. That is no outsider's work." Beatrice looked from one face to another, her eyes restless. She whispered, "I heard voices. I know what I heard. One name spoken, Willow's name." And Albion Willow groaned. He rubbed his forehead. "They corner me. They know my weakness. They know everything." Margaret spoke at last. "Perhaps the past should remain buried." Her words quick, her eyes flashed. Then she fell quiet again. Henry tapped his spoon. Let us not spoil the morning. The storm is gone. The sun is out. We should be grateful. But his tone mocked. His eyes glinted with challenge. Tuppence pushed her cup away. She whispered to Tommy, "Do not drink." He obeyed without question. His eyes narrowed toward the tray. Mrs. Peyton looked confused. "I brewed it fresh, madam." Nothing added. "I swear it." Her voice trembled. She turned to Willow for support, but Willow looked only at his plate. Rix stepped forward. "I brought the tray from the kitchen." None touched it after his words, flat. No hint of guilt. Tommy asked sharply, "Then how does the tea taste of metal?" No one answered. Eyes shifted, hands stilled. The silence grew colder. Beatrice leaned closer to Tuppence. "Do you feel unwell?" Tuppence nodded faintly, her lips pressed tight, her face pale, her pulse quickening. Margaret stood abruptly. She pushed her chair back. "Enough of this." "We sit here pointing fingers. We should all be ashamed." Her voice cracked. She left the table quickly. Henry chuckled. Dramatic souls in this house. Always some secret, always some blame. He poured more tea for himself. He drank without pause. His eyes lingered on Tuppence. Lord Willow sank deeper in his chair. "We are trapped. Even our food is poisoned. Who can I trust now?" Tuppence tried to rise. Her legs wavered. Her hands clutched the table edge. Her eyes closed. She collapsed without a sound. Tommy caught her before she fell. Fear struck deeper than anger. If even her cup was not safe, then nowhere in Willow Manor could be trusted. The cup still steamed, but the danger was cold. Tommy lifted it carefully. He brought it close to his nose. A sharp, bitter smell. Not normal. Not tea. Set it down. His eyes hard. "This was tampered." Mrs. Peyton wrung her hands. Her voice rushed out. "No, sir. I brewed it myself. Nothing strange. Only tea leaves. Only water." Tuppence sat weakly on the bed, her color pale. She pressed her hand to her chest, her breath uneven. Tommy looked back at Mrs. Peyton, her eyes wide, her lips trembling. She stepped closer. "I swear it. I would never harm her." Rix entered then. He bowed slightly. "I carried the tray from the kitchen." No one touched it on the way. His tone flat. His face unreadable. Tommy pointed to the cup. "Then explain this." Rix shook his head. "I cannot." He folded his hands behind his back. "Unless someone entered the kitchen before me." But I saw no one. Lord Willow leaned against the wall. His hand shook against the wood. "They poison even the table now. This is not theft. This is murder." Margaret clutched the chair near her, her whole frame trembling. She whispered, barely audible, "Poison. Always poison." It was bound to come to this. Beatrice knelt beside Tuppence. She touched her arm gently. "She is strong. She will recover. But what kind of enemy strikes like this?" Tommy bent down, his eyes locked on Willow, the kind that wants silence. "They burned your papers. Now they target her. Next, it will be you." Willow's head fell. "I cannot escape. They know every move I make." Henry appeared at the door. He looked at the cup. His brow furrowed. "What is this noise about tea?" Tommy did not move. "Someone tried to poison her." Henry let out a short laugh. "Poison? Or nerves? A bad stomach, perhaps. People blame shadows when they fear the light." His smile was quick. Too quick. Tuppence tried to speak, her lips dry, her words faint. It was not nerves. Her eyes locked on Henry. Her hand trembled. Henry spread his arms. "Accuse me, if you wish. I drank the same pot, and here I stand, alive." He lifted another cup. He sipped it without flinching. He looked straight at Tommy. "See?" Harmless Beatrice whispered, but only one cup was bitter. Her voice cracked with fear. The room went quiet. The sound of the clock ticked, every face tense, every breath heavy. Tommy moved closer to Tuppence. He held her hand, her pulse weak but steady. He whispered, "We keep moving. We cannot show weakness now." A sudden noise cut through the silence. Footsteps outside the door, slow, measured, stopping right at the threshold. Tommy turned sharply. Someone was listening. Tuppence gripped his hand. Trust was already thin. Now even the walls betrayed them. Books hold more than words. Some hide crimes. Beatrice led them into the library, her steps light, her voice low. "There is something here you must see." Tuppence leaned on her arm. She had regained strength, but looked pale. Tommy followed close. Lord Willow stayed behind in silence. The shelves towered over them. Beatrice moved with certainty. She stopped before the third row. Her hand rested on a thick volume. Gibbon's Decline and Fall. Volume 3. Her whisper was steady. She pulled it free. The book opened stiffly. A folded paper slid out. It landed on the table. Tuppence picked it up. Her fingers careful. The sheet was covered in strange symbols, lines, numbers, marks that carried no plain meaning. Tommy bent over it, his brow furrowed. "This is cipher." He touched the symbols with his finger. Military style, substitution. Someone wanted to keep this hidden. Beatrice's eyes widened. "So it is real." She folded her arms. "Charles kept books here for years. He trusted these shelves more than his desk. I thought it was only habit. Now I see it was fear." Tuppence placed the paper flat. "We must break it." Her voice calm. Her hands steady now. Tommy nodded. "We will." But someone else already knew. He tapped the edge of the sheet. It was hidden, but not deep. Someone expected us to find it. Willow entered then, his face drawn, his voice hollow. "So the evidence remains." "They failed to burn it all." He sank into a chair. "They will not stop now." Henry stepped in behind him. He glanced at the table. "What are we all whispering about?" More old books, more dust, his smile thin, his eyes sharp. Tommy covered the sheet quickly. "Only records?" "Nothing you need." Henry chuckled. "Always secrets, always games. Very well. Keep your puzzles." He turned away, but his gaze lingered on the table too long. Margaret entered next, her face pale, her eyes darting. "What is happening?" Beatrice answered quietly. "Proof of Albion." In code, Margaret's lips parted, but no sound came. She lowered her gaze. She left without a word. Tuppence unfolded the sheet again. Her finger traced the marks. "This will take time." But the truth is inside. Tommy leaned closer. And truth is what they fear most. The room stilled, only the sound of paper against wood, every face tense, every hand still. Then it happened. From the corner, a shadow moved. A hand reached quickly across the desk. It snatched another folded paper lying near the cipher. The hand withdrew before anyone could react. Tuppence gasped. "Someone just took it." She pressed the cipher to her chest. One clue remained, but another was gone, and loss, she knew, could be as dangerous as discovery. One clue opened, another snatched away. Tommy spread the cipher on the desk. Tuppence leaned close, her pencil ready. She copied each strange mark. She whispered, "We can break it." Step by step, Beatrice watched them, her eyes thoughtful. She said softly, "Charles studied codes in the war. He knew the methods. He spoke once of substitutions, of letters hidden inside numbers." Tommy nodded. "That matches this. Look here. Symbols repeat, not random. They form patterns." He circled a group. "Likely vowels. The rest will fall into place." Tuppence marked quickly. "AEO. These appear often." She tapped her pencil. "Someone wanted this buried, not burned." Lord Willow sat nearby. His hands gripped his knees. They wanted silence. That is why they destroyed the portfolio. But this they missed. Margaret entered suddenly, her face pale, her voice sharp. Stop this at once. Her hand trembled as she pointed at the cipher. You will ruin us all. Beatrice stepped forward. Ruin or reveal? Which frightens you more? Margaret's eyes flashed. You know nothing. You are children playing with fire. Tommy's voice cut firm. We are not playing. We are exposing truth. If you know something, speak. Margaret turned away. Her shoulders shook. But she said nothing more. She hurried out of the room. Willow groaned. She fears scandal more than crime. That is her curse. Tuppence bent over the paper again. Her pencil moved quick. Names. I see the start of names. She wrote slowly. Letters formed. Albion, investor, dates. Tommy leaned close. Enough to prove fraud. Enough to blackmail. He looked at Willow. Did you write this? Willow shook his head. No, I kept copies. But not like this. Someone else coded it. Perhaps to protect themselves, Beatrice whispered, or to protect him. She looked at Sir Henry, who had stepped quietly inside. Henry smiled faintly. You all work so hard. For what? Scraps of paper. They will not save you. He turned and left before anyone replied. The air grew heavy again. Only the scratching of Tuppence's pencil broke it. She pushed the sheet toward Tommy. Pieces fall into place. But not all, he nodded. We need time. Tonight, we finish more. His voice steady, but his eyes were sharp. Evening fell. The manor grew still. Willow retired to his room. Tuppence kept the cipher near her side. She checked it twice before lying down. Tommy whispered, Tomorrow we press harder. Tomorrow we will know the truth. She nodded, but unease pulled at her heart. Hours passed. Then a sound. Steps in the corridor. A door creaked open, another shut softly. Morning came. Willow's room was empty, his bed untouched. Lord Willow had vanished into the night. Tuppence felt a chill inside. Clues were dangerous, but silence was worse. And now silence had swallowed the man they came to save. The note was short, the demand deadly. Margaret held it in her hand. Her fingers shook, her lips tight. She read aloud. Bring the sum to the old mill, midnight. Come alone, fail. And he dies, silence followed. The paper trembled between her fingers. Tommy took it. He studied the words. No signature, no clue. Only threat. Tuppence sat upright, still weak from before. Her eyes fixed on Margaret. Who delivered this? Margaret's voice broke. A village. Boy. He left it with Hrix, no sender, no message beyond this. Hrix bowed slightly. That is true. He handed it to me. Then ran off at once. Beatrice stepped forward, her voice steady. Charles would never allow ransom. He would call it surrender. He would fight, not pay. Tommy nodded. He is right. Willow would resist. Yet the note is here. Someone wants us to act quickly. To act without thought. Henry leaned back in his chair, his smile forced. Well then, the answer is simple. I shall take the money myself, deliver it. Bring him home. Margaret turned sharply. No, it says alone. They will not return him if they see others. Henry raised his hands. And so? I'm a friend. I will go in his place. I will settle this business. Beatrice's eyes narrowed. You are too eager. Her words cut sharp. You step forward too quickly. Henry chuckled. Would you prefer we sit idle while Charles suffers? Tuppence whispered to Tommy. Too bold. Too quick. He wants the errand. Tommy said firmly. We decide together. No one moves until we search further. Margaret clutched the chair, her voice strained. If we do nothing, he dies. Beatrice placed a hand on her arm. And if we move wrong, he dies too. The note lay on the table, every eye fixed on it, every breath tight. Tommy rose. I need to see something. The garden path, the mud by the study window. He walked quickly. Tuppence followed close. The rain had left the ground soft. Footprints marked the soil, clear, defined, a trail from the gravel to the wall. Tommy bent down. He pressed his hand near the mark. A boot print, large, distinctive sole. Tuppence whispered, "Someone from inside." "These are no stranger's shoes." Tommy's face hardened. He stood slowly, his eyes narrowed. "Size 11? Deep heel. Heavy leather." They returned inside. Henry was at the window, sipping wine. He glanced at them, his smile quick, his boots muddy. Tommy stared at the floor. The pattern matched. Exactly. He whispered to Tuppence, "The footprints are his." Her chest tightened. Ransom was one lie. But betrayal walked inside with them. And betrayal wore Henry's boots. One message was grief, the other, threat. Beatrice found it at dawn, a plain envelope, slipped under her door. She bent to pick it up. Her hands trembled before she even opened it. She tore the seal. Her eyes scanned the page. The words were brief, cold. "Stay silent, or you'll follow him." Her knees weakened. She staggered backward. The paper slipped from her hand. She collapsed into the chair, tears spilling fast. Her voice cracked. "They will kill me, too." Tuppence rushed inside. She caught the card from the floor. Her eyes hardened as she read it. Another condolence, another warning. Tommy followed close, his tone sharp. Who brought this? Who dared so openly? Beatrice shook her head. I heard nothing. Only found it when I woke. Lord Willow's name was not written. But his absence spoke louder. The threat carried weight. The warning carried fear. Margaret entered the room, her face pale. She looked once at Beatrice, then at the card. Her lips pressed thin, her voice weak. Whoever writes these, they want silence above all. Henry appeared behind her, his smile faint. More paper tricks? More shadows to chase? He waved a hand. Perhaps children play at night. Perhaps servants amuse themselves. Tuppence's eyes fixed on him. Servants do not threaten murder. This is deliberate. Someone close. Someone who knows too much. Henry shrugged. Then look at yourselves. Do not point, only at me. Beatrice buried her face in her hands. Her sobs filled the silence. Tommy crouched beside her. Hold steady. They want fear. Do not give it to them. Willow's chair sat empty. His absence hung heavy. Every voice returned to him. Every threat returned to his name. Rick stepped into the doorway. He looked at each of them, his voice calm. I have something to say. Margaret stiffened. Her hands gripped her dress. Her eyes darted away. Tuppence rose, her voice quick. What did you see? Rix folded his arms. I saw Sir Henry last night. He was moving in the corridor, quietly, toward Lady Margaret's room. The words cut the air. Beatrice froze in her tears. Tommy turned sharply toward Henry. Margaret's face flushed with shock. Henry only smiled. Rix repeated, I saw him with my own eyes. Tuppence's chest tightened. Secrets whispered at night. Cards slipped at dawn. And now trust broke further. The walls of Willow Manor no longer hid a family. They hid enemies. Numbers fell into words. The truth surfaced. Tommy spread the sheet on the desk. Tuppence leaned forward. Her pencil scratched over the symbols. She matched letters one by one. Beatrice stood behind them, her hands clasped tight, her breath fast. She whispered, It is working. The pattern breaks. Margaret sat in the corner, her eyes restless. Her fingers twisted a handkerchief. She muttered to herself, This should never be read. Never. Tommy spoke low. It is more than threats. It is record. It is evidence. He circled the marks. They stand for names. They stand for numbers. This is fraud in plain disguise. Tuppence tapped the sheet. "These rows here." They repeat. They show dates, transactions. She paused, her voice firm. Money stolen, investors cheated, lies buried. Beatrice's eyes widened. Charles knew. He hid the proof here. He wanted safety in code. He trusted the cipher. Tommy nodded. He planned to expose them. That is why he feared. That is why he called us Margaret Rose suddenly. Her voice sharp. "Stop this now. If you reveal these words, everything collapses. Our name, our family, our standing. Do you not see?" Tuppence looked straight at her. "Do you fear the ruin? Or do you fear the truth?" Margaret's lips trembled. Her answer never came. She turned away. Tommy pressed on. The letters took shape. Slowly the names appeared, line after line, each one clear. Tuppence read softly. Investors, associates, partners. Her hand froze. Her breath caught. She looked at Tommy. Her lips formed the name. "Sir Henry." Beatrice gasped. Her eyes went wide. "It is him." His name here, written plain. Tommy set his hand on the table. The room held silence. Only the paper spoke. Sir Henry marked as accomplice, his dealings, his part in the fraud. Margaret let out a broken cry. "No, it cannot be. He was our friend, our guest. He stood with us." Tuppence answered coldly. "He stood with himself." "Always himself," Beatrice whispered. Charles knew. He had proof. That is why Henry silenced him. Tommy folded the sheet. "We confront him now." There's no hiding. Margaret sank back into her chair, her face pale, her body stiff, her eyes wet. "He will kill us all before he admits this." The door creaked. A shadow filled the frame. Heavy steps entered. Sir Henry stood there, his face calm, his eyes hard. In his hand, a gun. He raised it slowly. Tuppence's heart thudded. The cipher told the truth, but truth meant nothing if the barrel of a gun spoke louder. The river whispered. The mill answered with silence. Tommy led the way, Tuppence close behind. Beatrice clutched her arm. Margaret followed, her face drawn tight. They reached the broken doorway. Inside, Henry stood waiting, his hand firm on a rope, his eyes sharp with fury. Lord Willow sat tied to a chair, his hands bound, his coat torn, his face pale with fear. Henry turned toward them, his voice hard. "You should not have come." Tommy stepped forward. "You hold him prisoner?" "Release him, now." Henry laughed once. "Prisoner? He is no victim. He is the cause." He pointed at Willow. "This man ruined me. He betrayed me." Tuppence spoke firmly. "You betrayed yourself. The cipher shows your name, your schemes, your fraud." Henry's face darkened. "Fraud, lies. He promised me profit. He promised me returns. I invested everything. I lost everything." He kicked the chair. Willow groaned in pain. "This man destroyed me." Willow tried to speak, his voice weak. "You gambled with greed." "I never forced you," Henry shouted over him. "You profited while I bled." I watched my wealth vanish. I watched my name crumble. And he stood by, silent. Beatrice cried out. "That does not justify crime. You blackmailed him. You kidnapped him. You poisoned Tuppence." Henry's hand clenched the rope tighter. They were warnings. Warnings he ignored. Now the end must come. Tommy moved closer. "You think murder will restore you? It will not. It will only bury you deeper," Henry sneered. "Better buried than broken, better. Feared than pitied." Margaret's voice cracked. "Henry, stop this. You shame yourself. You shame us all." Her tears slipped down her face. Henry looked at her. For a moment his grip eased. Then his anger flared again. "You all stood with him. You all watched me fall. Not one of you lifted a hand. Now you will watch him fall." For real, Tuppence's eyes moved to the chair. She noticed the rope fixed beneath it. It stretched toward a beam above. The floorboards beneath Willow sagged slightly. She whispered to Tommy, "It's rigged. The chair will drop." Tommy's jaw tightened. He looked at Henry. "You built a trap. You plan to kill him slow." Henry smiled grimly. At the right pull, the rope loosens. The chair drops. The river below takes him. No trace, no trial. Willow's head dropped, his voice barely audible. "You never learned. Loss is not ruin. But hate always is." Henry pulled the rope slightly. The chair creaked, the sound sharp. The wood strained. The floor trembled. The rope groaned louder. The trap was set to spring. Tuppence's stomach twisted. Wealth was gone. Trust was gone. And now, perhaps, a life, too. One false move, and the chair would fall. Henry held the rope, his grip tight, his eyes wild. The chair beneath Willow creaked again. Tommy stepped forward, his voice calm. "You think this makes you strong, but it only proves your weakness." Henry barked a laugh. "Spare me your words. You cannot stop what comes." Tommy moved another step. "Let him go, Henry. Face your ruin like a man, not a coward." Henry snarled. His hand twitched on the rope. The chair shifted. Willow groaned. His head dropped. Tuppence caught Beatrice's eye. She lowered her hand slowly. Her fingers found the knife she had hidden. She pressed close to the beam where the rope tied. Henry's focus stayed on Tommy. "Why defend him?" "He is guilty. He destroyed me. He deserves to drown." Tommy answered firmly, "No one deserves your kind of justice. That is not justice. That is rage." Henry's lip curled. "Rage is all I have left." Tommy took another step, his eyes steady, his hands raised slightly. "You had choice. You chose crime. You chose blackmail. You chose poison." Henry's breath grew faster. His eyes narrowed. He pulled the rope tighter. The chair groaned again. Behind him, Tuppence moved carefully. She bent low. Her knife slid against the fibers. She worked quick but quiet. The rope frayed. Henry shouted at Tommy, "Do you think words will save him? Or you? Nothing saves you." Now Tommy held his ground. "Then why are you still talking?" "Why not pull?" "Because you fear the truth. You fear the proof written in that cipher." Henry's face twisted. "Lies!" He yanked the rope. The chair tilted hard. Willow cried out. But at that moment the last fibers snapped. Tuppence had cut it free. The trap failed. The weight gave way. The chair held. Willow slumped but safe. Tuppence pulled him free from the ropes, his wrists raw but unbroken. Henry spun around, his face red with fury. "You dare!" Tommy lunged forward. He blocked Henry's move. Beatrice pulled Willow back toward Margaret. They held him upright. Henry's hand shot into his coat. He pulled out a gun. His arm rose quick, his finger tight on the trigger. Tommy stood still. He met Henry's eyes. "You cannot silence us all," Henry roared. He pulled the trigger. The sound cracked loud. The bullet tore past Tommy. It struck the wall behind. The shot missed by inches. Tuppence gripped Willow's arm tighter. The rope was cut. But death still walked the room. The shot still echoed. But Henry had no escape. The door burst open. Rix stepped inside, 2 constables at his back. Their boots struck the floor in quick rhythm. Henry turned sharply, his gun still raised, his eyes wide, his breath heavy. "Drop it," Rix ordered, his voice flat, his hand firm. The constables moved closer. Henry growled, "No, you don't command me." He swung the gun toward them, but Tommy lunged. He struck Henry's arm. The shot fired wild. It hit nothing. The constables rushed forward. One gripped Henry's wrist. The other forced his shoulder down. The gun clattered across the floor. Rix kicked it away. Henry struggled. His teeth clenched, his fists tight, but 3 men pinned him. The fight drained fast. Margaret pressed against the wall, her face white, her hands shaking. Tears slid down her cheeks. Beatrice held Willow upright, his head low, his wrists raw from the ropes. She kept her arms tight around him. Henry roared again. "You fools! You think this ends here?" His voice shook the room. But the constables locked his arms. They dragged him toward the door. Margaret cried out suddenly, her voice broken. I knew he lied. I saw the papers. I saw the letters. I said nothing. I feared the shame." She covered her face with both hands, her sobs heavy. Willow looked at her weakly. "You let it grow. You let it spread. Silence is guilt." She fell to her knees. Her tears hit the floor. "I was weak. I thought silence would save us, but silence destroyed us." Beatrice turned to Tuppence, her voice soft. "Thank you. You stood firm. You saw through it. You saved us." Tuppence touched her hand gently. "Courage is shared." We all stood together. Tommy bent to pick up the cipher sheet. He held it tight. "This is the proof." "This will end the lies," Henry thrashed one last time. His voice rose above the struggle. "You don't know the real traitor yet." The constables forced him out. His words echoed in the hall. The door slammed shut behind them. Silence fell again. Only Margaret's sobs filled the space. Willow slumped against the chair. Beatrice held him close. Tommy placed a hand on Tuppence's shoulder. Her eyes met his. Both knew it was not finished. Henry's shout lingered. "The real traitor yet." Tuppence's heart ached. One enemy was bound, but shadows still remained, and shadows meant truth was still hidden, Manor safe. But trust broken. Lord Willow sat back in his chair, his coat loose, his hands still shaking. He tried to steady his breath. Tuppence stood near him. She watched every move, her eyes sharp but kind. "You are safe now," she said. Willow nodded weakly. Safe, but not whole. Margaret sat across the room, her face pale, her head lowered. She said nothing, her silence heavier than words. Beatrice stood beside the window, her arms folded tight, her voice quiet. "Even family can betray." She looked at Margaret, then away. Her words cut deep. Tommy unfolded the cipher once more. He set it on the table. "This is not over," he said firmly. "This paper proves fraud. The Albion scandal reaches beyond Henry. There are more names, more hands in this." Willow closed his eyes, his voice weak. "Then it spreads farther than I feared. It will drag us down still." Margaret flinched. Her hand gripped her dress, but she stayed silent, her guilt plain. Beatrice stepped closer to Willow. "You will stand again. But truth must come. Hiding has only brought ruin." Willow lowered his head. "I know. I thought silence would shield us. It only chained us tighter." Tuppence glanced at Margaret. She saw the tears she tried to hide. She said nothing. Sometimes silence spoke loudest. Tommy folded the cipher. "We must carry this forward. The law will take the rest, but we must not trust too quickly. Henry was only one. The others will not rest." Beatrice shivered. "Then danger still walks?" Tommy's eyes narrowed. "Yes, danger does not end with one arrest." Willow groaned. "I called you too late. I should have spoken sooner. Perhaps then lives would not be broken." Tuppence laid a hand on his shoulder. "You still breathe. You still can choose. Do not waste the chance." The clock ticked heavy on the wall. The fire burned low. No one moved. Margaret whispered finally. "My silence shamed me. My silence betrayed us." Her voice cracked. "I thought I was protecting him. But I protected the wrong man." Beatrice turned away, her eyes wet. She did not answer. Tommy broke the silence. "The Albion trail will spread wide. We must follow it. We cannot stop here." Tuppence stood beside him, her gaze fixed on the cipher, her mind restless. Then she spoke softly. "Henry was guilty, but he was not alone. Someone else moved in shadow. Someone else still plays." Beatrice frowned. What do you mean? Tuppence held her breath. She remembered the card that vanished. She remembered the words written inside. Not Henry's style, not Henry's hand. She leaned close to Tommy, her whisper sharp. Then who sent the last condolence card? The question hung heavy, darker than silence itself. Tuppence's heart sank. The house still stood, the family still breathed, but trust had died. And betrayal once born never leaves quickly.